So the Water, Power, and Oceans Subcommittee of the United States House Committee on Natural Resources hearing on the 4 Lower Snake River dams is called to order. And first up on our schedule of speakers is a representative from the Pacific Northwest Environmentalist Coalition, who will be making a case for permanently removing or breaching these 4 lowermost Snake River dams. With that, I'll turn it over to our environmentalist panel.
Good morning. In 1955, construction began on Ice Harbor Dam on the lower Snake River, and which was completed in 1962. Since then, the salmon population on the Snake River has collapsed, with over 40% of the historic range being gone by 1999. The 4 dams, Ice Harbor, Lower Monument, Lower Goose, and
Little Goose and something
Little Goose.
Granite.
And Little Granite.
They've got bizarre names.
Yeah. They have been targeted repeatedly for removal, and in fact, last month in May, it's been a federal judge from the state of Oregon has requested for the 5th time, in fact, that they be removed. We are here to make a case for the removal, and we are going to demonstrate not only that the dams are in violation of the Endangered Species Act, they're in violation of Stevens treaties with various Native American tribes in the region. And furthermore, we're going to demonstrate that not only is this something that should be done from a legal perspective, it's something that must be done as a matter of right or wrong. Most people consider salmon to have no inherent value in their continued existence, that they're essentially inanimate objects. You either eat them or they get caught up in turbines. Who cares what happens to them? However, viewed not as individuals fish, but as a gestalt, a species-wide gestalt, they show a remarkable capacity for decision-making and a rudimentary intelligence that most people aren't aware of. Most of the time, they instinctively seek out the same streams that they spawned in to return when they come back from the ocean. However, they have shown an ability to colonize different streams, ones that they are unfamiliar with. So, therefore, they have some rudimentary decision-making skills, and which is enough to consider them to have intelligence, which is enough to consider them to be a subject of a life. However, since the dams are removing possible places where they can colonize, we are cutting off part of their future, depriving them of agency.
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yeah.
Surely you're not suggesting that interfering with the life or freedom of movement of a single fish is some sort of moral wrong, are you? I mean, that would be a pretty whacked out environmentalist radical view to adopt. And surely you're more interested in perhaps somebody else is going to address the holistic ecological concerns. Most attention to the lower Snake dams doesn't revolve around individual
No, it's
animals,
more
right?
of the salmon runs in their entirety as opposed to individual fish which make them up.
Okay, fair enough though, but you're pointing out that there's something else going on here besides just humans eating fish. That's not the only value. Okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough.
Or animals eating fish, since orcas can have quite a bit of their diet comprised of salmon in the ocean, and if we want to keep orcas off of the endangered species list, then we might want to restore salmon populations for that reason. We will also demonstrate that it is possible that if a argument for keeping the dams is made that they would be used for combating climate change through the production of hydroelectricity. We will show that it is in fact possible to create electric power that is not commit large-scale ecocide, one that doesn't kill riverbound species, and one that does not emit large amounts of greenhouse gas. We have cases that farmers in the Plain States have been able to sell unproductive land that they would own to development of wind and solar farms, and we believe that this creates an economic opportunity for farmers in the region. Furthermore, the Native Americans that have lived here for centuries before colonization by European Americans have subsisted on fish. It forms a large part of their cultural identity, and the fact that they have been, like, when lands of theirs were sold through treaties, they had been given legal rights and access to fish, which are currently being impeded by these dams. So, and we believe, and we will demonstrate that if the dams were to be removed, it would help the tribes out a great deal and get them out of their current impoverishment, allow them some sort of agency of their own, allow them to get on their feet economically, allow them to be able to sustain themselves and their way of life. Finally, we will show that it is possible to remove a dam without large-scale repercussions to the surrounding area. As an example, there is the Condit Dam on the near Whitestone, Washington, which was removed in 2012. The area has long since recovered from the region and is quite actually a nice place to be. And it's something that we could actually do to the larger Snake River area.
I think fundamentally, without ecocide and tree breaking, the reason for the dams existing is sort of a make-a-work project before just straight up introducing money stimulus. Like 70% of United States dams were built after World War II as make-a-work projects, trying to create jobs in certain regions. And that same logic that puts them up in the first place can be used to take them down as a temporary surplus of jobs. And if an idea can be implemented and destroyed for the same reasons, it is logically fallible and should not exist.
Are you saying that because the dams wouldn't be justified today, then they probably, I mean, they can only be justified. Are you saying they were only justified as make-work projects?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody had sat back, you're saying, and done the full cost-benefit analysis with the full information that biologists and ecologists have available now, and economists, if they had full information in 1965 when they started all these dams, then they would have made the decision not to. But they did because they didn't have the full information,
Yeah.
and there was some, if you describe it, these are huge projects, and they're just make-work projects. That sounds like some serious political corruption going on, right? Is that what you're suggesting? There was collusion, but some high-placed congressman was funneling money to the Army Corps of Engineers, and they needed to justify all that funneling of money, and so they needed to build more dams. That's your argument?
It's a circle of justification, yeah.
Okay, and then the developers, the builders who actually built the dam, and a few other vested interests probably provided some campaign contributions to that high-placed congressperson, right? Now you're talking about the iron triangle, right? You've got the industries, the high-placed congressperson, and then the agency administrators, in this case the Corps of Engineers, agency administrators. And they all, that iron triangle locks the current resource use system in place. That's your argument, basically.
In a way, you could take it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a pretty powerful argument. If we had all the information that we have today, these dams never would have been built in the first place, right? And that's not necessarily a slam dunk, though. I'm sure our friends here have a response to that. But okay, we've got a good start here. Have you covered, does that cover the bases, or do you have some other part of your arguments?
Other than just the fact that there are programs in place to help salmon recover in order to facilitate their continued existence, which are incredibly expensive and not very effective. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Eliminate waste by allowing the river by allowing the river's natural functions to sustain salmon with the natural flow regime, right? Rather than interfering all the time the way we do now, which is very expensive. All right.
I wouldn't
so-
say that interference is bad in of itself. We're not making that argument. We are making the argument that it is ineffective currently
Sure.
through fish ladders, much more strenuous on salmon than jumping up a waterfall, because the height of the dams that are simulated by a fish ladder are much higher than the waterfalls that existed prior.
Okay.
I mean, there's also been cases where they've had to truck in salmon from into places where dams have been blocking them their passage entirely. So, I mean,
Oh, they replicate the whole cycle, right? They have to.
good at it.
They have to bring the fish, the adult spawners, up over the dam, and then they also have to take the carcasses of this. After they right, the next generation hatchery salmon are from returning, right? And so they use those for broodstock, squeeze out their eggs and their milt, right? And then they throw those. What do they do with those carcasses? They drive them out to the streams where the salmon used to, right, die, and now they don't do that anymore, right? So they drive them literally out there and throw their carcasses in the stream to duplicate. It's just amazing, right? And that's very wasteful, is the argument. Okay, so there are
ineffective.
and very ineffective. All
Yeah.
right.
We would probably have much less, there would be much less of an issue here if these efforts were actually successful, and we could, in fact, have
Okay.
the dams and salmon runs.
Okay, good. All right, so if the mantra of the 40s, 50s, and 60s and great dam building era, which was based on primitive understanding of fish biology, but if that mantra was correct, then we'd be okay. Their mantra was fish and power too. We can have fish and power too. That's what they kept repeating over and over again. But that
Absolutely.
was wrong, and so as a result of our new understanding that we can't have fish and power too, we have to. All right. Okay, very good. So there are power alternatives, we have treaty obligations, there are profound ecological values, the infrastructural concerns can be overcome, as illustrated, for example, by the removal of Conde Dam on the Little White Salmon. And then in general, these dams just aren't. And I assume you'll have more factual analysis later in your presentation about how exactly economically these dams are a drain rather than a benefit. All right, so very good. So let's hear from our business community, or pro-dam. They're not necessarily business, some of them are probably ranchers and just average, right? People trying to make a living.
Well, first of all, thank you for letting us be here, coming into this space,
Oh,
being
sure.
a part of our community. We've tried to keep an open mind to other viewpoints, as of course we've invited you here. We've accepted your proposal for a debate, and if they haven't removed the dam with 5 other tribes, well, we'll see where this goes. But I will generally introduce what my expert colleagues here will delve into the facts. But what this is really about, and even what this space represents, is our community. And like we've shown here, even accepting coming into this debate, we're trying to keep an open mind. And I don't think you guys are quite seeing the anthropocentric viewpoint here. Now, we've accounted for a more than anthropocentric viewpoint that we will get into later, but There seems to even be a stigma against, that the environmentalists have a stigma against anthropocentric viewpoints, like it's wrong for us to care about ourselves. This is specifically wise use. I've heard a lot of crap be thrown at Ron Arnold, bless his heart. Now honestly, even wise use cares about the environment. I mean, they're the middlemen, the farmers. They know the land. They don't want to hurt it. And they know what's best for it. Even then, the dams themselves, you claim, have no other purpose than to just be a filler or an excuse for where money's going. But there is a lot of information proving of how good it is for the community. It provides clean, effective, and efficient energy for thousands of Americans. And what my colleague here from the, please state where you're from again.
I'm with the utility companies and the industries that are reliant upon. right
Yes,
now.
he knows, and he will tell you. And even the fish that you guys are all so worried about, they're in stable populations. They're not at harm at going away. So we believe, both in wise use and a rural utilitarianism outlook. Now, if these dams were to be removed, a lot of people will be hurt. Got a good guy over here named Carl. He's trying to put his daughter through school. And if his electricity bill goes up, how's he gonna do it? He works a full-time minimum wage job. But you're more worried about the fish, huh? That's alright, we can see if we can make a compromise maybe. But ultimately, we do believe that these dams, the benefit that they give humanity as an animal species outweighs what it will add and do for the wildlife and the fish. I would like to please invite to talk Sarah,
Yeah.
an
Okay.
expert
I wasn't
on
sure.
on the wise use philosophical outlook.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Sarah, and I'm going to be representing the group of wise users as proponents for keeping the lower Snake River dams intact. Firstly, I would like to start off with a quote from the Holy Bible. Genesis,
Amen.
thank you. Genesis 1:28 says, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every other living creature that moves on the ground." Which I think that's pretty on track with what we're discussing today.
The United States is not a theocracy.
And it doesn't tell.
I am entitled to my religious beliefs.
Yes. First Amendment, religious freedom.
Thank you. Okay, so before I delve into my argument, I'd like you guys to keep two main topics in mind. One, that God made the earth for human use, and humans are the most important beings in the universe. Thus, only humans have moral significance, and they should be thought of as ends in themselves. And secondly, that humans are destined to use the natural resources God has provided us to our advantage. And every living and non-living entity in nature are property for humans to use and to take advantage of for human wealth and convenience. God gave humans the gift of rivers so that humans can take advantage of and harness the power of the river. Humans are the exclusive owners and have a right to every living thing as well as non-living things surrounding the rivers, including the river itself. Since humans are the owners of rivers, humans can do anything that they want with the river, and the interests of ecosystems and biotic communities are of no importance. Humans should take advantage of the gift of rivers from God by building and utilizing dams, since dams have tremendous economic value to us. For example, I'm going to list a few ways in which dams can be beneficial to us. Firstly, dams help convert potential energy of water into electricity. Electricity generated by dams in turns help power various local industries, which are of great importance to our human community. Secondly, dams help conserve water, which can then be used by the irrigation system to supply water to farms. Farms produce fruits and crops, which are economically valuable to us. Thirdly, dams help increase tourism, which puts more money in the pockets of people working in the tourism industry. And finally, dams help avoid flooding and thus can save $1 million in damages every year. I propose that we need to build more dams instead of flooding, I propose that we need to build more dams instead of removing them so we can help meet the needs of our future generations. By building dams, we can improve Earth for the massive use of future generations. All in all, since humans are the only owners of rivers and surrounding ecosystems, we are destined to have a right to use rivers and the surrounding ecosystems as we please. They're ours. The effects of dams on the surrounding non-human communities are of no importance to us. Only the economic importance of dams and benefits of dams for the human community are of importance. Thus, in order to fulfill our destiny and improve Earth for the future, for the massive use of future generations, and to improve our economy, humans need to intensely exploit rivers by building dams and never take them down. And now, I would like to turn it over to Craig, who is from the hydroelectric companies, so he can demonstrate how the removal of the dams would severely affect working people.
Okay, so basically, hydropower is one of the most valuable resources that the Northwest has. Currently, it generates 70% of the power in the Northwest and is one of the greenest forms of energy. Because dams have an efficiency rating of 90%, they have a significant amount of cost savings. In comparison, if you look at fossil fuel plants or wind power or even solar power, it's 50%, 30%, and the max for solar is 25% respectively, which is significantly less than hydropower. They also have a really long lifespan. Most of the dams that have been built in the 50s and 60s are still functional today and are projected to be maintained for another 30 years roughly. One of the reasons why the utility companies really appreciate hydropower is because of the extremely low cost of energy produced. So for instance, if you look at coal production, nuclear production, wind production, or solar, the cost per kilowatt ends up being between 6 to 10 cents per kilowatt, whereas dams max 2.5 cents per kilowatt, which is phenomenal savings. And that's something that we can pass on to all the people who live in the area. By having the really low cost per kilowatt, you can have people in the area spend a lot less on power, as well as industries. There's lots of industries that like to move to this area. For instance, Google or BMW, who have moved to this area for industrial purposes to produce their goods because it is economical for them. Because of this reason, it brings a lot of jobs, particularly high-tech, low pollution jobs to this area. For instance, in Moses Lake, BMW has recently built a $200 million carbon fiber production facility, which currently produces 1/5 of the world's total demand for carbon fiber, and supplies the local economy with 200 high-tech, high-paying jobs. Additionally, the carbon fiber that they use to make hybrids helps reduce pollution produced by their cars. Because the cars are a lot more lightweight and strong, it reduces the need to make more cars and increases fuel savings per car. So not only is it bringing high quality jobs to the area, it's helping reduce pollution for the globe, excuse me.
How does that affect the dams again? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Or how is that connected to the dams?
So because basically we all live here, right? Because the dams are here and because they produce low cost power, that gives us jobs essentially. So basically, if we're looking at it on an anthropocentric point of view, it's good for all of us in the area to have those jobs because of the jobs.
Yeah, a job related to BMW is not a job related to dams.
how's that created?
There's a
Companies want to
correlation
come here
that's missing.
because we have low energy costs.
Apples and
So they want
oranges.
Has
to reduce-
BMW released a statement saying that they moved here because the dams are so pretty?
No, it's not.
they-
The dams are pretty.
You
That's
can't use that. They didn't move it.
No, they released a statement saying it's because the dams are so
Well,
efficient.
let's not get too disorganized too quickly, but yeah, go
I was just
ahead.
gonna suggest maybe it would be wise to just, for the sake of the next hour and a half, pretend that what he said is true.
Whoa. Okay, so then if that's the case, you wanna go there, then, I mean, obviously, why are we here?
Our heads are supposed to be spinning around as
Well,
we
yes,
are
you can't just-
confused
you
by
can't
all the
just take things and
conflicting
say, oh, okay,
utilitarian
this is-
calculuses.
Okay, I'll just believe you, that's okay, no, I'll just believe you, like, no, we're here to prove things, we're in a court of law.
Well,
I-
we're gonna get into, these guys are gonna hopefully have done some research and have anticipated some of the factual assertions that are made by the pro-dam coalition,
But I
right?
like to stick on topic though, and that's off topic, you can't compare apples and oranges, you can't do that.
The issue now is the assertion that, right, correct me if I'm wrong, Kylie, you're concerned about the assertion that keeping all of our dams in place helps provide more jobs for our region. And I think the argument, right, is the argument that because the energy is clean and it's cheaper, businesses are more likely to find this an attractive business environment, right? Is that the argument?
Yeah, that's pretty much exclusively, yeah.
And we know that we're not supposed to get bogged down on facts here. This is about philosophy, right?
Well, but
You
some
can
of these-
support it,
Yeah.
but they are important in that they
are.
prove how much living beings they're helping and whose lives they're giving pleasure to. And I couldn't have said it better than Sarah and Craig here. So philosophically, we can look at it that through a lot of Craig's facts, there are a lot of living beings that are being helped by these dams.
Human beings?
Yes, specifically humans.
Yeah,
But we don't want to take up all the time here, so.
fair enough. All right, well, I guess then you guys have summed up your overall response to the idea of removing dams. So let's try to get a little more specific, and this would be the Environmentalist Coalition's opportunity to address and look, you know, part of what this exercise, we're stepping outside of philosophy to a larger degree than we've ever done in this class, right? So, because I want to give people an opportunity to see how some of the different arguments that we studied all term long might be used in a policy debate about this, right? But it's going to be, this is a context in which a factual analysis is more important than earlier in the term.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So fair enough, but but you make a good point. As philosophy, we want to make sure we understand why we're launching into a recitation of a factual analysis, right? And in this case, we're doing that because we want to highlight the utilitarian arguments, either in favor of keeping the dams in place or in favor of removing them. There are all these strong utilitarian arguments that persuade people, right? And they depend on these key facts. And so anyway, so in a policy analysis context, it's better, it's more appropriate perhaps to get more detailed about facts.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
and that's ultimately what's going to decide. I'm just kind of fond of pointing out to people, and maybe I'm a little bit sarcastic even about it, or kind of mocking people's reliance on a consequentialist analysis as though that's going to generate the solution to the moral struggle. But being an ethics professor, I'm fond, and I think part of my job is to point out, keep reminding people that you can't resolve moral struggles with the consequentialist analysis. That's a big part of it, always, that's a real big part of your resolution of the moral struggle. But in a moral struggle, you have to articulate overall goals and objectives, right? And you have to have some understanding of the value of life and the meaning of life, right? You have to have some big overarching metaphysical claims, right? To resolve these moral struggles. And so while the factual component of your argument is really important, also it's important to bear in mind that that factual component can never actually solve the moral struggle. It's only one tool that can get you part of the way, right? So Anyway, so let's go farther down this path and let's see, let's explore some of these. Is that fair enough? You guys are done now? Okay.
totally.
And we understand the arguments, right? The consequentialist, utilitarian business. I'm curious from now, maybe I should ask before we go on of our wise use panel member here. If the factual economic cost benefit analysis pointed in the direction that the Environmentalist Coalition is suggesting, namely that dam removal might be economically wise, a better, more economically beneficial course of action, would the wise user at that point change her view on dam removal?
I think so. I don't think I'm saying, that,
So we're not
I don't-
obligated to keep plugging up the river just because we're humans and
Just-
just because we can and just, right?
it's
If-
because it's the most beneficial thing at
Okay,
this point for
right.
us.
So your view really just dovetails perfectly practically speaking, your view is really indistinguishable from just an economic analysis. But you just add this metaphysical kicker. So really, but
And God.
the crux of your argument is that it's economically most beneficial to continue operating the river the way we're operating it now.
In any way that it's gonna
All right.
help humans in general or in the future, then
Uh-huh.
I think that if that was the case, that it was most beneficial on that side,
Yeah.
then I think that I would have no problem going that way, but it's not.
Okay. So that's the factual claim that supports the utilitarian calculus in favor of keeping the dams, right?
And we can have
It leads to
a,
greater happiness to keep the dams.
we
Yeah.
have a farmer here amongst our midst, an actual farmer that makes food and not weed. He can speak up too, later.
What's the discriminatory statement of things?
No, I'm just joking around here.
I'm sorry, I'm done.
I think on this side,
For discrimination in here.
they're presenting a bit of a caricature and having some fun with it, I think, Tyler, is all. Really.
I'm not here to have fun, I'm here to get down to business.
All right. You're our deep ecologist, you should sit over here.
And then since we're addressing the wise user, I have a couple questions.
Okay, sure, go ahead, Tyler.
She says that we're the owners of this place. I'd like to know where's the proof of purchase, or where is the certificate of authenticity? Because there is none, we don't have one.
Right there in the Bible.
And then also,
Right
Do you
there.
need me to read the Bible
and
quote
then,
again?
and then also,
Right there in the Bible.
it was said that it's a low cost or a cost-effective way
Our creator.
to generate hydroelectricity. But how does the dam charge us? Visa or MasterCard or cash? How does the dam charge the humans? I don't see. It should be free. But I don't understand where the money aspect is coming in here. Because if we don't pay, the dam's still going to move, and the dam's still going to be there, even if we don't pay. So I don't understand why charge the people. If you're really talking about, okay, we're doing this to benefit human beings and the whole general anthropocentric community, okay, and why charge us for the electricity that doesn't need to be charged in the first place? It's
Because
free.
that's how
It's free.
a market works.
It's free though.
I would
Why not
say-
give it? Why not give it to us for free? If we're building it, if it's all free.
Because you need
This
businesses
is-
and you need industry?
Tyler, this is not a debate about capitalism.
Yeah.